Edinburgh Fringe is not about commerce. It is about art. It is about expression. It is about absolutely being free to say, do, and whatever, and be as creative as possible or as authentic as possible. Hey, I'm Stacey Burrows, and you're entering a world gone good.
Well, hello, my name's Steve, and this is the place where we shine the light on everyday people making good happen each and every day. Welcome to World Gone Good. My fourth novel, Cupid's Curse, is now available for your summer reading pleasure. Sam's back, Mac's back, and dead dog narrator Hubie's back. He's back too, in this brand new cozy mystery that's got murder and mayhem and even a 1960s themed event called The Love-In, where most of the murder and mayhem take place. Cupid's Curse is the fourth book in my series, The Dog Walking Detectives. All four books are available in paperback or ebook on Barnes & Noble website. And you can also pick up the ebook on Kobo's website. Your support is greatly appreciated by this self-published independent author. And as always, he says, I say, thank you for that support. Today, we continue our Edinburgh journey with part 3 in our series. We have done 2 parts already, and now we're about to have a 3-way. That came out a little wrong. Okay, moving on. If you haven't heard part 1 or part 2, we highly encourage you to press the pause button and scroll back in this here episode guide of wherever you're listening, and you start with them. Go to listen to 1 and 2 first. It's more fun. It's more fun. You'll know what's going on. The final piece to this Edinburgh puzzle is here today. My good pal, Stacey Burrows. She's basically the Norm Peterson of the Fringe at this point. Instead of Norm, they scream, Stacey, when she enters a pub there. It's a Cheers reference. Look it up. And there's no gooder person and artist to help us answer the question we've been asking. What's good about the Fringe? Here comes Stacey Burrows to talk all the good she has to share. Stacey Burrows is back with us, and I'm trying to remember. I know this. Yeah, this is definitely your third? How many times have you been here?
I know it's the second time for sure, but there could have been a third, but who knows?
It's like our secret love child. We're like, there could have been a baby, but who knows?
Yeah, we just don't know. We track
travel
of these
a lot.
things.
He's somewhere.
Sure, he's fine.
Hope he's okay. I'm sure he's fine.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
I'm good, my friend. I'm so glad you said yes. Let's start here with this. So our 2026 slogan is say yes. So I want to know, what is Stacey Burrows saying yes to in 2026?
Okay, well, I said yes to 3 surgeries back to back, which was a breast reduction, 2 new discs in my spine, and also a new knee. So I am saying yes to repairing and rebuilding my old broken body. And I'm also saying yes to just continuing to believe in myself as an artist and choosing me and sort of feeding that monster, because I think it's growing into something really wonderful.
You are like really prolific, and I think it's something I pride myself on as well. And people are like,
Yeah, you as well. Oh my God, you keep on cranking out novels, and oh my God, and you have your new slideshow show, and I'm just excited.
I just like not to sleep. I'll do that when I'm dead.
Here's the deal. I love to sleep. That is my guilty pleasure. I need sleep or I become completely unmanageable. But I will say I try to make the most of my waking hours. You know what I mean? So I'm like, look, the clock is ticking on all of our lives. And I'm just like, what else can I create? What else can I make? What other little things can I do to make my time on earth enjoyable? And art is always the top thing for me.
If you think back, a question I've asked all the other guests who are going to Edinburgh, What's the first theater you remember seeing or being part of? What's your youngest memory of theater for you?
It's a funny answer because the first theatrical thing that I witnessed was the Southern Baptist Church, First Baptist Church, Houston. And everything was theater there. Everything. The sermons, the choir, the Christmas pageant. I was the Virgin Mary in one of the Christmas pageants. It was televised on NBC. Anyway, but that was pure theater. And I was just mesmerized by, I was a young kid, but I was like, yeah, there was a message, there was a Bible, there were these things that they were talking about, but overall, it was a production. So I would say First Baptist Church, Houston, Texas was my first theater memory, but a proper theater, so I was always in theater, but my proper theater memory was Les Mis. And I would go with all my friends who loved Les Mis. I think I've seen it maybe 10 times now. And that was the first time I remember going, "Oh my I mean, what a great entrance into the world of theater and music, I mean, it doesn't get better than Les Mis for me."
Oh, yeah. And that's intense for how old were you?
Well, I was probably a teenager at that time.
Okay, you were ready. You had your
So I was
drama.
ready. I was
Oh, yeah.
ready. Yeah, yeah. But that's, wow, I was just so enamored with it, and in fact, the first time I took my boys, it was before COVID. I was like, "Oh my god, Les Mis is coming to LA. You must see it." And I remember they were younger, maybe they were 11 or 13 or something, but they were like, "Mom, we watched the show, but we watched you watching the show." They go, "You were on the edge of your seat the whole time, and you literally lip synced like every." I was like, "Oh, I can sing that whole soundtrack every part. Like, don't even. I want to put on a one man, one woman like this." I'm like, I can do it too. So they were just like, it was so fun for them to watch me, and they were like, "We get it. That was tremendous." The stage starts spinning in the barricades, and oh god, it's just such spectacular, theater.
Your one woman show would be Stacey Burrows is miserable! Exclamation point.
Dude, okay, that'll be
And
my next friend show.
we'd write out
Oh
exclamation point,
god.
not just use the punctuation.
I think that's actually a fantastic idea. So will you direct
Okay.
me? Okay, thank you.
Done and done. Wouldn't be the first time because, my friend, let's just
Oh,
backtrack for
yes.
everyone
Let's
who's
go all
listening.
the way back. Yeah.
You and I
Mhm.
participated together in a little something called the Double Double, where you played
Oh
Princess
gosh.
Leia Magdalene in Jesus Christ Superstar Wars, and Anna in The King and I Know What You Did Last Summer.
That was one of the most stressful slash enjoyable experiences of my life, and it was only stressful because, as you may know by now, my creative process is wait till the last second, wait till the 11th hour, and just wing it. Well, the reason I was ill prepared was because at the same time, see, I do these things called I cluster create, and I've always been this way, except for now. I'm getting older, I'm getting wiser, and I pick one thing and I just dive into it. But at the time, I was doing the Groundlings. I was in the writing lab at the Groundlings. I had just also written, remember, 15 Minutes of Femme. I
Yep.
had just written the basis of my first solo show, which was I'm Not From Here, But My Kids Are. No, I'm sorry. It was Tales from the Gymboree. That's what it was.
Gymboree. I was gonna say, I couldn't remember the title, but it
And
was a Gymboree.
yeah, Tales from the Gymboree. And I just could not believe how lucky I was. You cast me in The King and I Know What You Did Last Summer and Jesus Christ Superstar Wars. And I was just like, oh my God, all of that at the same time. So, of course, I couldn't be 100% in any of those things, but you still let me participate. And I remember watching you in the booth when I was like, I don't know my line. And you're just like, I don't know how to help you up here. But I could sing. And you were like, well, you can sing, but you were so not prepared for the script.
It was so funny because you shared the parts with two different actresses. One was Stacey McQueen and one was Judy Evans, and
Yeah.
neither of them, they couldn't sing.
Right. But they knew the lines.
They knew the lines. So it was so funny because it was like, oh, they were just sort of singing their way through, but you were fucking belting, and we were
Yeah.
like, we're like, "Oh my god, she's such a great singer. I just hope she remembers the lines tonight." And then there were other times where it's just like, with them, it was like, "Oh my god, they know other lines. They're so funny." Oh god, here comes a song. Oh, Jesus.
So we were the perfect combination of, talents. We just weren't in the same performances. Well, the funny thing is, I remember somebody in the audience coming up to me at the end of it. They were like, "You were so good." I was like, "Really?" Yeah. And he goes, "Because, man, I mean, your character was supposed to be nervous, but you really played nervous very well." I was like, "That's because I didn't know any of the lines." I was like, "I wasn't acting. I was very nervous."
Isn't it funny though that and we had a situation, we just did slideshow in May, premiered it in London.
Yay.
We were at 8:20 7:22. The show started at 7. It's 7:22 and I'm up at the mic, lights are on me. The first performer had gone. I think it's going pretty well. The energy's good. And then there's a weird shift in the audience. Like you can feel it, right? You're like, "Oh, something feels weird." And then 3 people come barreling down the aisle and run out the door. And I'm
Oh my
like,
god.
yeah, and I'm like, "Okay, what was oh, maybe," but it's London, so I'm like, "Oh, they really needed a drink. They really
Yeah.
had to get down there's a pub downstairs, people, right? They gotta get their drink on." But
Yeah.
then I hear all of this talking, and I can see the front row. That's all I can see with the lights, and they start looking backwards, so I'm just like, slideshows, like this, it's just chatting, so I was like so I just go, "What's going on?" And someone yells, "She needs help."
Oh
And
god.
I step past the light to see the entire audience is up on their feet. I look up at the booth, poor James in the booth running this tech guy, and I go, James lights," and he looks at me, he's like, "Oh yeah," turns on the house lights. A woman in the 5th row just passed out,
Oh no. Oh
cold.
no. Oh
We
god.
just stopped the show for almost 20 minutes.
Oh, how terrifying.
It was the craziest thing. Now, we did start the show back up. The rest of the show went gangbusters. People came out, "Oh my god, I loved it. It was so funny. I love this, I love it." But, just like what you said, is like, you're spending all the time, "Really? Because someone passed out. Really? Because we had to stop the show."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I say all this because we spend so much fucking time
Yeah.
on the negative, right?
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
that shift of just like, "Who cares?" So I went up on a line. Who cares that, and our shows the shows you're talking about, the double shows, they were like Saturday Night Live skits, so the audience loved when you went up on a line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know that you did, but I mean, the
I
audience
don't know,
did. You're like, "God bless it, she did it again."
but don't you think that's interesting that so much of your, especially performance-wise is like, "Okay, yeah, thanks for all the compliments. What needs work out? What I gotta work on? What needs fixing?"
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But, I mean, I think back to, like, Carol Burnett's show. I mean, what was the best part of the show? When they all broke. Of course. And you're like, "Oh, well, I would," you just watch it for the bloopers, because that's the best. Anyway, so how did the woman get some medical help, and is she okay? Do we know?
Well, unfortunately, she didn't make it, so no, I'm kidding. She was outside and she's like, "I had dinner," and she was British and mid I'd say pushing late 50s, and she's like, "I had dinner and I had 1 drink and I'm not hypoglycemic and I don't have any, I'm not, I don't need insulin and I'm not diabetic," and my husband, the
Yeah, of
nurse,
course. Jim's like, but you passed out. Like you lost consciousness.
we were like, "You need to go to a hospital." Let me just say this really quickly because we're making light here. Any person listening, if this happens to you or someone you know, you go to the fucking hospital because I kept saying it to Jim quietly, it could be her heart. And Jim said, it's very probably her heart. So she hilariously just goes, "I'll just take an Uber home." And we're like, "No, you're not getting a fucking Uber."
Oh
So
my
her
god.
her friend's like, "I'll take her home." I turn to the theater owner, I go, "Are we" he goes, "Yeah, go do your show." And I go, "Yeah, yeah, my audience left. Like, I thought everybody went home." He goes, "Oh, no, they're probably just downstairs." He goes, "I'll go get them." The owner just goes downstairs to the pub and goes, "The show's restarting," comes back up 60 seconds later, comes backstage and goes, "Everyone's back."
Oh
And I
my
come
god.
back out
That's
and
so
guys,
British. That's so
it's
British.
so British.
It's the keep calm and carry on.
They
It's just
just
like, "Oh,
they're
well,
just
that's
like, "Okay,
fine."
oh, alright then." And they're
And even if she had died, they still would have gone like, "Oh, no, we'll come back for the second act."
"We'll go to the funeral later. That's fine." Literally hilariously, so just so everyone knows, I go up to the microphone and I go, "All right, everyone, welcome to act 2." That got a laugh. And then I go right off the top of my head, because you and me, sister, I go, so just word of advice here. This is our opening night, and if anyone gets to blackout, it's us, not you people." And
That's
that got a
funny.
really big laugh,
Of
and then we
course.
just kept going. I did check in with the theater. The woman is doing fine.
Oh, good.
May she never come to another show of mine again. Okay, question. Have you ever had somebody blackout or need emergency services in a show?
Well, actually, sort of, yes, but not completely blackout. But when you're doing the Edinburgh Fringe, to bring it back to Edinburgh Fringe, you are in very often very small, cramped rooms that have been transformed into theater spaces. And very few of them have, well, when I started doing it, they didn't have air conditioning or any kind of like air circulation. And my first room off Riddle's Court had zero circulation, and people were so hot because it was like a heat wave. And people were so hot, they were like literally, you could see them just like almost blacking out and then just having to like get up and leave the room. Now, meanwhile, I'm up there under the lights, sweating my ass off and going, oh my god, I might pass out. Like, it was ridiculous. So then, of course, nobody really, like, lost consciousness, but that would happen, and then I was in another venue and, again, super duper hot, and people were just so uncomfortable. So I really like last year's venue at the Pleasance was so great. They put a new AC in there and it was like a meat locker. But now I'm back at Greenside again in a very small, small studio. So we'll see. We'll see. But I shit. This year I'll put a bucket of waters and, fans and I don't know what all, but I'll make sure my audience is comfortable because Jesus Christ, I want them there and I want them to be comfortable. But yeah, it is kind of scary when you see people going, "Oh, that person's going down." But you're like, you've got 59 minutes to do your show. You're like, I don't have time to address your medical concerns right now, but afterwards, be happy to talk to you about how you're feeling.
So tell the audience here that's listening, why to Edinburgh? Why? What does it mean to you?
Okay, well, Edinburgh means everything to me. It was one of those things where, they say, oh, it's a bucket list item. Yes and no. So I've been in LA for 20 something years. And there's just this sort of, about Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody likes to take risks in Hollywood. Nobody, it's just, it's problematic when you're trying to create art and Hollywood is trying to create commerce. There's sort of odds between those two concepts. And Edinburgh Fringe is not about commerce, it is about art. It is about expression. It is about absolutely being free to say, do, and whatever and be as creative as possible or as authentic as possible. So, when I started doing comedy in New York, it was all about those 7 minutes. Get those 7 minutes. And, back in the day, if you had those 7 minutes that you crafted in New York, you would go to LA, you'd get off the plane, you'd hit the Improv or the Comedy Store or wherever, you do your 7 minutes, and then someone would hand you a sitcom, right? That was the old formula. Well, that formula was back in the 80s, which no, but like that's how it used to be. It used to be just like whatever. Then the whole industry shifted and I was more drawn to alternative comedy. So when I was in New York, I did the Collective Unconscious on the Lower East Side, pre-gentrified Lower East Side. And it was run by an elf named Reverend Jen. And I was like, these are my people. Okay. So what I like about Edinburgh Fringe is that it reminds me very much of that alternative comedy scene in New York in the late 90s, where it was literally not about it wasn't about anything other than, let's just be creative and funny and whatever. So years ago, I was in quite a depressive state. I have 2 kids. It's very hard to raise children. I don't know if anybody's, said that before, but it is a challenge. And as an artist and a mother, I was like, oh my God, how do I continue being an artist and a mother? Momming is sort of a 24/7, 365 job. So I was very, very, very depressed and I was folding laundry, crying. And then I would be in the fetal position, crying, sobbing because I missed I missed my artist life. And I turned on Showtime. Or like I was just going through, I was like, I need to watch something while I fold all these tiny socks. And I stumbled upon this guy playing the piano. And I remember saying, "Oh, who the fuck is this guy? Oh, he thinks he's funny. Oh, I'll let you know if you're funny." Like I'm like having my own conversation with myself. Okay. So this guy is playing piano and he's on Showtime. This is his comedy special. He's on the stage at the Royal Albert Hall with a full orchestra. He has eyeliner, dark, thick eyeliner on. His hair is a wreck. It is all teased up and it's kind of reddish blonde and he has no shoes on and I was literally like, ugh, another like smart ass who thinks he's funny. Well, within about 3 minutes, I was like, oh, my jaw was on the ground. It was Tim Minchin, and it was the most genius thing I'd ever seen in my life. So I watched the entire special, forgot about folding clothes, watched the entire special like I was in awe, ran it back, watched it again, and I was like, who the fuck is Tim Minchin? Well, Tim Minchin is an Australian composer, lyricist, stand up comedy guy, right? But he did start in stand up. He kind of got put in that world because he went and did the Edinburgh Fringe. And that's really what cemented it for me. I was like, wait, what? So then he did this whole documentary about how he got to the Edinburgh Fringe. And it really takes you through what it takes to get an audience in Edinburgh Fringe. And I got the bug and I was like, I have to do Fringe. I have to go to this place that gives opportunity to otherwise, yeah, I hate to use the word nobodies, but everybody's on a fair playing field, sort of, in Edinburgh. You bring a show, and if it's a hit, it doesn't fucking matter how many follows you have, how many TikTok, Instagram, bullshit. If it's a hot show, guess what? People will come, people will rave, people will write about it, people will review it, and you win, right? As an artist, you win. You go, see, I knew I had something, and you don't have to break down the walls of Hollywood in order to bring your show. Is it expensive? Yes. Is it a month-long endeavor? Yes. Is it the hardest thing I've ever done? Yes. Is it something that I will continue to do for the rest of my life? Yes, because I'm addicted to it.
It's so important what you just said here because I think the thing about LA specifically, and some of New York, but really LA, is that so many people who do theater there, and I can say this because I did theater there beginning in 1993, before you were even born, Stacey. You weren't even born yet.
Ah, ha, ha, ha,
I
ha.
have to say that so many people, actors I cast, treated the parts they were in as if it was like a public audition,
Yeah. Mhm.
meaning they they carefully played the part. Everything was about them getting seen
Yes. Yes.
and them getting cast and what would happen from this and I had people tell me I had people turn me down for little theater like you and I did all the time, but turn me down because my manager said I have to keep myself open because three guys, a girl, and a pizza place might call. Which really
Jesus
did. I'm quoting
Christ.
an
Yeah,
actor who
of course.
who I cast in something who quit because said her manager said three guys, a girl, and a pizza place, which got changed to I think just a pizza place or something, or three guys and a girl, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
that was the focus, and that's what's so important. Is like even what we're doing right now, I'm doing this to do
Yes.
it.
Yes, it's the craft. It's the enjoyment of just doing the damn thing and going, you know what? If something really wonderful and big is going to come out of this, fantastic. I will welcome it. But you know what? At the end of the day, I love it so much. The great thing about Edinburgh is you have to find your audience. That is part of the job. Doing the show is not the whole job. It's finding your audience. And it's great to connect with people who otherwise probably would never see your show. But I'm really good. I think it's because I used to wait tables and I've always been in sales of some sort, going, oh yeah, this person will relate to the topic I'm bringing. And so I really am good about finding my audience and flyering on the street because you have to, and striking up conversations. It's not about like passing out flyers, 1,000 flyers. It's like going, hey, I can see by that person's shoes, or I can see by their hair, or the way they're dressed that they will definitely relate to this. And I think they'll really enjoy it. And the other thing is, I come in with a super high confidence because, not because I'm great, which I might be, but because of the team that I've assembled to help me bring the baby to life, my director, Katie Rose Donahue Enriquez, she has a solo show called Queen of Fishtown, which is the best solo show I've ever seen. And then my co-writer in music, Sam Small, who tours internationally with Tyler Ballgame and the Man Man Band and his own work. I have attracted these incredible artists who are as passionate as I am about the craft. And so when all of us get together and we build the damn thing, I'm so lucky and fortunate to be able to represent all the combination of talents through what I'm doing, because a solo show is never just one person. You know what I mean? So I like that when I do say to somebody, I guarantee you're going to love the show. You're going to get something out of this show. And at the end, they go, you were right. This was fantastic. Or it really resonated with me, or wow, I needed to hear that today. So, again, it's just great to be able to literally, you don't have an agent or a manager. I mean, some people do over there, a lot of big names do, but really, when it's just the artist trying to find their audience, it's easy over there because that's the whole town for the month of August are people looking for shows. That's what they're there to do. They're there to see the shows and support the artists. And there are 3,500 shows over the course of 30 days.
Insane.
3,500 shows running at the same time, all hours of the day and night, and you will see the most amazing, wonderful, creative stuff that there are no barriers other than there is a price tag at Edinburgh, but there's free fringe.
Can I just say though that confidence is not a bad thing, and there's a thing sometimes I think with people, like even here, me coming from my background in LA, like I've said it a million times, like if you want to put up a show tomorrow in LA, I'm your guy. Like I
Oh,
know,
yeah, yeah.
tell me what space you, how much money do you have, what space, you need a director, you need a producer, you need a whatever, you need a lighting guy, I got it all for you.
Yeah,
When I
yeah.
came in here, I had no contacts, and I started looking at theaters. I had so many theaters that wouldn't call, they won't even return my phone call, and I'm like, "What am I doing wrong?" But it's kind of just the way of the marking of the beast, the way of the whatever. But I found this space, and I walked in. I didn't even have slideshow in my head. I had actually one of my new written shows, and I looked at the space and I went, "Oh, slideshow would be great here." And then I thought, "Oh my God, what am I doing? Why don't I do what I know?" And what I know is slideshow. I know a few things, but I do know that. And then also I was just like, when I go and, I made little cards. They look like slides,
Oh,
and
cute.
I hand them out. It's the logo on the back is a QR code because I'm not a dummy. And all you have to do is just put your phone up to it and it gives you all, gets you right to the tickets. But when I hand it to somebody, what I say to them almost every time is, I promise you a good time.
Yep.
I promise you're going to have a good
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
And they go, "Oh, cool." And they're like, "Well, what is it?" And I say, "It's storytelling, but we have the photos to back it up." And they're like, "Oh." And I'm like, "And yeah, it's not totally original, but what makes slideshow work and what makes what you're talking about work is a thing called two things: community and connecting to that community."
Yes. That's what it's all about for me, and I've brought some pretty heavy topics to Fringe, before, and I'm like, "Yikes," you know me, I'm a stand-up gal, I'm like musical comedy gal, but I was like, "You can take a risk in Fringe." In fact, they want you to take a risk at Fringe. If you don't take a risk at Fringe, then it's just boring, you know? People want to see and hear things that are new and original and I think, by the way, Slideshow would be a phenomenal Fringe show, but I can help you with all that when you're ready. But that's the greatest kind of anyway.
I'll be in touch.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Well,
Oh,
wait a minute. Take
I'm
us
a fanatic. Mhm.
Well, you're gonna come do it here in London at some point, but take us
100%.
through for a second. Tell us each of the shows you've done, because just give us the names of them, because you're doing a different show every year. You're not coming back with the
Yeah.
same show.
Exactly. I like to write a new show every year. My year goes like this. I go do Fringe in August, right? Which is the month of August. But when I get back from Fringe in August, I give myself a month to be sicker than I've ever been sick before because you get the Fringe flu. And then I get through September going, oh, well, that was great. And then starting in October, November, I'm already writing the new show and pitching the venues for the following year. So it takes a whole year to launch a Friends show if you're doing it the way I do it. But anyway, the first time I did it was 5 years ago, and I took a show called Bulletproof Unicorn.
Yep, seen it.
Then, yeah, and then
And let
then
me just say really quickly to everyone listening, when you talk about very raw, somewhat open, very open, somewhat dangerous, you took a giant swing going out the door with that show.
I sure as hell did, and I was like, "Oh my god, what that was that was a leap, and that was a leap of faith and risk and fear, and it worked." So I was very happy, and I'm really glad you saw that.
Yeah, and I saw it. I lucked out. I got to see it in Santa Barbara. I just had to walk down the block. It was fantastic when I worked there, but lived there. But let me say this to everyone listening: Bulletproof Unicorn is a story about Stacy's brother who basically threatened to murder her entire family,
Yeah.
and how she had to handle that. And brilliantly, you turned it into like a war zone
Mhm. It
piece
was
with
Vietnam. It was
it was
Vietnam. It
Vietnam,
was my
okay,
my
with
personal Vietnam.
yeah, with actual audio and clips of his texts and his messages, and it was that was not what I expected when I went in. I was like, "Oh, Bulletproof Unicorn, this is gonna be fun." I was like, "Holy shit, this was intense."
Yeah, thank you. It was, I needed to find a home creatively for all of the wildly dysfunctional and traumatic things that have happened because I am a member of the family that I'm a member of. And I was like, the best place for me is dark comedy theater. And I was like, I was born in 73. Vietnam was happening. And I was like, oh, I got the connection. So, of course, you saw the staged version, which had, the military base camp with the helicopters dropping from the ceiling. And I have to hand it to Center Stage Theater, especially Terry Ball, especially Vicky Scott, because they didn't they welcomed me in and they said, the theater is dark. We had a production cancel. Will you come up and we will gift you the space and we will gift you a director who was Alina DeSantos, genius, and that was me turning a wildly crazy story into theater. And I really learned a lot. And I was so happy that I filmed it because no one from Edinburgh got to see that version. And very few people saw that version because I was like, oh my God, I'm taking on this huge production. Now it's theater. It's not just stand up. It's not just storytelling. And I just didn't have the bandwidth to like promote it because I wasn't sure it was going to work, but it worked. And I was like, oh, well. Anyway, okay, back to the second show. So after Bulletproof Unicorn, I was like, okay, I know how to do Fringe now. I want to do another one. So the next one that came out was Laughable, which was a musical comedy. Did you see Laughable? I think you did.
Yeah, I saw that
An
one too.
early version of Laughable. Right,
I
right,
did.
right. So Laughable was a musical comedy, not a breakdown. It was a musical comedy about my being in the messy middle, the sandwich generation of trying to take care of my kids, right? My teenagers, and also trying to take care of my elderly parents. And in the midst of that, my own body is aging and changing. And I was just having all of these medical misadventures. And I was like, this is ridiculous. This is laughable. And I was like, oh, well, that's the show. So I always write from where I'm standing. So that was a very special show. The last, because it was really about my mom, and she had Alzheimer's. You know this because you're my friend. And the whole show really revolved around my love and respect for my mom and watching her sort of suffer and eventually pass away from Alzheimer's. So it was a sweet show. It had a lot of heart, but it had a lot of humor too. But the last day I did that show was the day she died, which was October 6th. And I found out that she died at 11 a.m. that morning. And I had the last show in Topanga at like 7 p.m. that night. And everyone's like, how are you? Do you want to cancel the show? And I said, no, because if you remember in that show, she hasn't died yet.
Right.
And so I was like, if I can keep her alive for one more day in this show. And so it was a beautiful show. My friends were there. And then at the curtain, I let everybody know that she had passed away that morning, and there was not a dry eye in the house, including myself. I don't know how I fucking did it, but again, that's art, right? Art kind of gives you, and like theater, and when you have a show to do, you're like, oh, it's like you have to find a strength within you that you wouldn't ordinarily have. When you find out that your mother's died, you normally wouldn't go, yeah, fill the theater and I'm going to sing goofy ass songs about her boots, whatever. But anyway, okay, so that was that. So then we go to my third show, which was No Good Drunk. Now, this show I had actually been writing and working on for about 5 years. And No Good Drunk told the cyclical tale of how alcoholism sort of ravaged my family through the generations. And it really was, again, about my mother and her relationship or lack thereof with her father, who died when she was 9 from cirrhosis of the liver. And he wound up buried in another woman's grave in El Paso, Texas in the 50s. And my mother never went to the grave. I went there, I documented, I did all this research, and like we filmed so much footage that it really was a film with an original soundtrack with Sam Small. That was a gorgeous, gorgeous, but very heavy story.
Yeah, that's the one I saw here when you did it in London.
That's right. Oh my God, you've seen them all. I love you.
Seen them all.
Yeah, that was the one that was like hard for me because my heart broke every time I did it. Now I'm coming back with Fool's Gold Mine, which is a very, very, very different type of show. It is music forward solo show, right? So 9 original songs, brand new works. I went into the studio with Sam Small and his band and my awesome engineer, Kevin Jarvis from Sonic Boom Room. And we have created such beautiful music. The music, of course, is going to tug at your heartstrings. You might cry about fried chicken, but the stories in between, again, are supported by archival footage, which are mostly pictures. Yeah, they're mostly pictures and funny little graphics that I've made. But it tells the tale of how I was raised as a rich girl in Houston, Texas in the 1980s, except for the fact that it was all a facade. We went broke when I was very young, but unbeknownst to me, I was like, "No, excuse me, but we belong in this beautiful community of these gorgeous houses and everyone around us is rich." And my dad kinda kept it up for as long as he could until, the bank repossessed the cars and the house and everything went away. And then that was when I was launching as an adult at 18, going off to college, going, "Oh, well, that's quite a pivot." Here I thought I was this person that had this financial stability of like opulence. We lived in opulence, right? But then realizing that, we didn't. And it's okay because that taught me to take care of myself. I got student loans. I put myself through school. I waited tables. I moved to New York with $40 in my pocket, and I was like, I'll figure it out. Watch me. It's okay. You don't have to support me financially. I will figure this out. And I love my dad. And I really, the show really shows why he felt the need to continue that sort of well, it was a lie. But I benefited from it, and it gave me confidence, coming back to the confidence theme. When you don't know that you're not rich, but you think you are, you're, like, super confident, you know? But then so I created, this character that came out of that upbringing was like, "Oh, I got this. There's nothing that's impossible," because not because I'm a rich girl, it's because I had this crazy confidence, and the confidence, I believe, came from my dad because he was raised, and this comes out in the show, he was raised on a working farm in Caledonia, Mississippi, born in the '30s. They had no indoor plumbing, no electricity, no running water, and he picked cotton and corn. And he had 2 pair of overalls, 1 pair of shoes, and I would say, "Oh my god, dad, it must have been so hard living in poverty." He goes, "We weren't in poverty. Isn't that funny?" I said, "Oh?"
Yeah, because he didn't right,
He
because he didn't
goes,
know.
"Because no," because he said, "No, no, no. We had a working farm.
Oh.
People in poverty, didn't have that. And I was like, "Oh my God." Like, what a revelation. What a beautiful gift that his parents gave him to say, "Oh, we're not poor. We're workers." And everything they ate came from that farm. Everything. His mother churned butter and sold it in town. His father was a working farmer. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's the confidence that you instill in your children and your attitude towards the situation. So my dad passed that on to me in a wild way because, everything around us screamed that we had money, but it was like, "Oh, shit, we had money for about 15 minutes, but that was it." But he was a self-made, successful businessman who just, you know, the way the world goes. You have money for a limited period of time, spend it wisely.
It's
But yeah. So anyway, so that's what Fool's Goldmine is about.
right, and you can't chase money. Look, we all know that. You chase your dreams, chase good ideas, chase an education. Everything else will come from that. Let me ask you this before we wrap up. Anyone listening who has a story to tell, who may not have the confidence that you have, my friend, and I know you well and you know me well. I know you're not always this confident. I know you have your
Oh,
moments like,
good
please.
lord. It's constant, like, battle of, like, "I'm shit. I'm a genius. I'm shit. I'm a genius. I'm an idiot. I'm a fraud. I'm a genius." It's like,
That's
"Oh, okay."
every meme that I have of like writing a novel, like, I'm writing the greatest story ever. Next minute, who the fuck would want to read this? What are you even think? But
Yeah.
to anyone out there who's on a fence of like, like, what would you, what one piece of advice would you tell somebody?
Oh my god. Don't worry about the outcome. Just do the damn thing. Just do the damn thing. Write the story. And also, if it's somebody who wants to do solo theater, the thing that worked for me was go study the form. Go see all the solo theaters. And then the one you like, meet that person and say, "Hey, who's your team? Who helped you with this? How did you get that?" Because nobody does it alone, especially the good ones. And everyone in that form will probably be very happy to share, like, "Oh, I studied with this person," or "I got that story developer to help me," or "I got that person to direct me." And that's when it all kind of, it's just fine. I just did a deep dive when I did Bulletproof. I said, what the heck? How am I going to make this a story?" And I found out that my favorite solo show at the time was Hassan Minaj, Homecoming King. And his story developer was Greg Wallach, who's an old friend of mine from New York. And I reached out to Greg and I was like, "Hey, are you still doing this?" Because that's what I do for a living. And I was like, "Can I hire you?" So he also was to credit for Bulletproof Unicorn because he was the initial story developer before I got in with Alina DeSantos. So find find your favorite, do a deep dive, who'd they train with, who'd they study with, and go support the solo artist because once you're in the mix, they will go, come in, my child, come to the cult, drink the Kool-Aid, and let's all have a good time."
Where do people find you and where do people find you at the Fringe?
My new Fringe show will be at Greenside on George Street in the Sprout Studio, August 7th through the 29th, except the 16th and the 23rd at 19:30. So that's 7:30 p.m. It's 1 hour long, and I can't wait to see you there.
We close these shows with this question, which is not a question at all, just a way to wrap it up. Stacey Burrows, tell me something good.
Oh, I'll tell you something good. My friendship with you is good. And when the universe pulls you to something that might feel outside your wheelhouse, like, I don't know, starring in a musical comedy you don't know the words to, just go, answer the call. I literally wanted to do 15 minutes of femme, and you cast me in that. And because of that, I know Christina Wong, I know you. It's just answer the call. It'll take you to somewhere good.
Thank you, Stacey, for joining us and sharing your good self with us as well. Next time on World Gone Good.
Someone messaged me in my DMs and said, "Why did you start writing?" And I said one word: survival. It was about me surviving. It was about me finding myself and finding healing and trying to figure out at 58 my place in the world, where I belong.
Sandra Griffiths is a poet who maybe didn't even know it, as they say. Her book of original work is entitled Becoming Me, and the phoenix rising from the ashes on the cover, that pretty much says a lot about it and her and who she is as a person. One of the poems in her book has this line. It says, "It's time to break the generational curses. It's time to be the ones to stop the cycle." I can't wait for you to hear our good conversation and more. It's an inspiring one on our next all-new episode. Until then, be good.